The courtroom was never meant to become a viral stage. But once the footage of Maurice Scott surfaced, everything changed. What should have remained a routine legal moment turned into a public event that people now believe says more than any written report ever could. This was not about loud reactions or dramatic outbursts. It was about silence, posture, and moments that people felt spoke without words. When that footage began circulating online, the conversation around Maurice Scott shifted in a noticeable way, and it has not slowed down since. The reason this footage gained so much attention is not because of what was said, but because of what people believe they saw. Maurice Scott walked into that courtroom carrying the weight of public opinion long before he took a seat. His body language, his facial expressions, and his interactions with his legal team were all watched closely. In today's world, a single glance can become a headline, and a quiet moment can turn into a viral clip. This footage gave people the feeling that they were finally seeing something for themselves, not just reading about it. And once the clips hit social media, they were no longer just court footage. They became material for debate. People slowed them down, zoomed in, and replayed the same seconds over and over. Every movement was questioned. Every pause was analyzed. Some viewers felt they were watching a man under pressure. Others believed they were seeing someone calm and prepared. The same footage produced completely different conclusions depending on who was watching and what they already believed. It is important to understand that this court appearance did not come out of nowhere. Maurice Scott has been under public scrutiny for some time. Legal matters tied to his name have already been discussed online, often without full context. So when new footage appeared, people did not approach it with a blank slate. They brought their opinions, assumptions, and past conversations with them. That history shaped how the footage was received. At first, the court appearance itself did not draw much attention. It was described as routine. There was no final ruling, no dramatic exchange, and no public statement made at the time. But once short clips began circulating, everything changed. What made the footage stand out was its subtlety. There was no single moment that explained everything. Instead, it was a collection of small moments that people felt added up to something bigger. Viewers focused heavily on Maurice Scott's demeanor as he entered the courtroom. Some noted that he appeared serious and focused. Others felt there was visible tension in his posture. As he interacted with his legal team, people watched closely to see when he leaned in, when he nodded, and when he remained still. These are normal actions in a legal setting, but once framed online, they took on new meaning. One reason the footage spread so quickly was the lack of immediate official commentary. With no clear explanation attached to the clips, speculation filled the silence. People began asking questions. Why did his expression change at certain moments? Why did he appear more rigid when specific topics were discussed? Was this confidence, or was it concern? Without answers, the internet created its own. Legal professionals were quick to remind viewers that courtroom behavior does not determine guilt or innocence. Courtrooms are controlled environments. Clients are often advised to remain calm, quiet, and neutral. Expressions are managed. Reactions are limited. But those reminders did little to slow the viral reaction. In the age of visual content, perception often moves faster than facts. What made this footage feel different from previous appearances was timing. Public attention around Maurice Scott was already high. Any movement in his legal situation was going to be noticed. So when cameras captured him during this phase of the process, viewers immediately began connecting his behavior to possible outcomes, even though no ruling had been made. The legal context behind this appearance matters. This was not a final judgment or a dramatic turning point in court. It was part of an ongoing process that involves multiple steps, filings, and scheduled hearings. These kinds of appearances often include long periods of waiting and quiet discussion. None of that translates well into short viral clips, but that did not stop people from drawing conclusions. As the footage continued to circulate, attention narrowed to a few specific moments. One of the most discussed clips shows Maurice Scott's posture shifting when a certain topic is addressed. Viewers claim his shoulders stiffened and his focus changed. Some interpreted this as stress. Others dismissed it as a natural reaction to legal discussion. The same moment supported completely different narratives. Another clip that gained traction shows him sitting quietly with an unreadable expression. Supporters described this as composure and control. Critics saw it as tension and internal calculation. This divide is what kept the footage alive online. It allowed people to project their own beliefs onto what they were seeing. Body language experts weighed in, though not always in agreement. Some explained that controlled expressions are common in court, especially when legal counsel advises restraint. Others pointed out that small changes in posture can reflect stress. The issue is that none of these interpretations are definitive, yet they were treated as evidence by many viewers. The audio, or lack of it, also played a role. Certain parts of the footage include muffled exchanges or pauses where something appears to be happening off microphone. These gaps invited even more speculation. People began wondering what was said, why the camera angle shifted, and whether important information was being discussed out of public earshot. Maurice Scott's interactions with his legal team became another focal point. Observers noted how closely he listened and when he chose to speak. These are expected behaviors in court, but when slowed down and shared repeatedly, they took on exaggerated importance. Normal legal behavior was reframed as something more. What cannot be ignored is how quickly this footage changed the conversation. The focus moved away from documents and legal filings and toward visual interpretation. People were no longer debating legal details. They were debating what they thought they saw. That shift is powerful because visuals feel more immediate and personal than written information. As the footage gained traction, reactions from people connected to the situation reportedly changed. Commentary slowed. Public statements became more cautious. When viral footage enters the picture, silence often becomes a strategy. Saying too much can feed speculation, but saying nothing allows narratives to grow on their own. Supporters of Maurice Scott pushed back, arguing that the footage was being overanalyzed. They reminded viewers that court is a serious environment and that stress does not equal guilt. Others doubled down, claiming the footage confirmed what they already believed. This polarization kept the discussion active. The internet began using the footage as shorthand. Instead of explaining the case, people simply asked, "Did you see the court video?" That question alone carried weight. It implied meaning without stating facts. In that way, the footage began shaping perception more than any official update. What many people overlook is how viral moments can influence future behavior. Once cameras become part of the equation, everything changes. Lawyers may advise clients differently. Appearances become more controlled. Information becomes more guarded. The presence of an audience, even an indirect one, alters how situations unfold. This footage did not confirm guilt or innocence. What it did confirm is how powerful perception has become. A few minutes of video created weeks of discussion, debate, and speculation. It showed how quickly a legal process can become public entertainment, even when no new facts are introduced. At its core, this moment reflects a larger issue. We live in a time where visuals often replace context, where silence is interpreted as meaning, where people feel confident drawing conclusions from fragments. The viral court footage of Maurice Scott did not tell the whole story, but it convinced many that they were seeing something real. Whether this moment truly changes the outcome of the legal situation remains to be seen. What is clear is that it changed how the situation is discussed. The conversation is no longer quiet or contained. It is loud, visual, and ongoing, and once that door is opened, it is very difficult to close. As this case continues to move forward, every appearance will now be watched more closely. Every movement will be noted. Every pause will be questioned. That is the reality of viral attention. The courtroom may not have been meant to tell this much of the story, but once the footage escaped its walls, it became part of a much larger narrative that that is still unfolding. This moment did not provide answers. It created more questions, and in today's digital world, questions are often enough to keep a story alive far longer than facts ever could.